and welcome back to the Paranormal Project. I'm Jenna.
I'm Ryan.
And today we're carrying on with our ghost series and we're going to be reading our spooky ghost stories.
Yeah. So I found these on Reddit, which seems to be like a treasure trove of information. A lot of it probably bad. However, we are going to read a couple of them. So we've got a few for this video here. I suppose we should just crack on.
Yeah, grab your s'mores, gather around the campfire for some spooky stories.
Turn your lights off, wherever room you're in. Turn the lights off. Grab yourself a little torch. Put it under your chin, just to get the atmos. Yeah. So let's crack on, shall we? Now, this first one, we'll start.
Go for it.
Eerie music cue. When I was a little girl, Grandma's house was our safe haven. If Mum and Dad were fighting, we were at Grandma's. If a hurricane was coming, Grandma's. Any kind of trauma, stress, act of God, we were at Grandma's. I spent a lot of time at Grandma's, do you think? She had a neighbour that had a little girl about my age named Maria. We would either play in my grandma's yard or in the lot in between their homes. There was this boy who was always around. He wore blue jeans, a black t-shirt, one tennis shoe on the right foot, and a white hat flipped backwards. His white hat was spattered with a rusty maroon red, and his face was a bit deranged on the left side. Now obviously these is just copy and pasted from Reddit, so we can read it as such. I don't understand what deranged. His face was deranged on one side. I'm not sure deranged is the correct term here. I'm wondering whether this is someone who's not a native speaker to English and they're typing in English as a second language, which we find quite a lot of on Reddit is people that have like learned English and they write in English, and it is sometimes, as a native speaker of it, quite difficult to read. But yes, he had a deranged face, exposing his inner jaw and dried blood around his nose and where his cheeks were supposed to be. His cheeks. His eyes and ears were bloody. His clothes were torn on the left side of his body, and his left leg was mangled and bloody. You could literally see the black holes and craters in his leg. I was always very taken back when I would see him hanging around. I only saw him when Maria and I were playing. He would sit on the porch and watch us, or sit on his bicycle under the tree and watch us. But no matter what, he was always watching us. I ran into Maria a few months ago. We recalled playing in the yard and drawing with sidewalk chalk and riding our bikes and playing school bus. We were smiling and laughing, but the mood suddenly changed when I asked her if she remembered the creepy boy that was always hanging around. She said no and asked me what he looked like. So I described him detail for detail as much as I can remember, and she goes pale and says it sounds like I'm describing her dead brother on the day he died in a motorcycle accident. My skin pops goosebumps from head to toe. She tells me she will add me on Facebook and send me a picture of her brother later that night. The photo showed a young man in blue jeans, a black shirt, a white hat flipped backwards and white shoes on the motorcycle hours before he left for a road trip that he died on. When he was hit, his bike flipped to the left and an 18-wheeler dragged him and his motorcycle 150 yards before coming to a stop. The whole left side of his body was destroyed and he lost his left shoe in the incident. It was never recovered. The family identified the body, collected his belongings and had a closed casket funeral because of it. Weeks later, Maria and I are hanging out at my house. I thought I saw him pass by my living room window. Window. Maria is telling me about him, how protective he was and how much he loved her. How much she wishes she knew he was still watching over her. We laugh, we cry, we remember all our good times. I walk her to her car to tell her goodbye, and when I go to hug her, I stop dead in my tracks. He is in the car, in the passenger seat. He looks directly at me. I stand still and stare. Maria asked me what was wrong. I lifted my hand and gave him a small wave of the hand. He gives me a half smirk and gives me a wave of the hand back. Maria says, What are you looking at? I tell her, it's him. He's still watching over you. He's in the passenger seat of your car. She thinks I'm messing around with her and starts to get upset with me and says, "What is he doing then if you can see him?" He does the "I love you" sign in sign language and then signs to moon and back infinity. I tell her and she breaks down crying and says she believes me because her brother was teaching her sign language before he died, and that was the very first thing he taught her. I love you to the moon, then back infinity. I have seen Maria 2 more times since then, and I'm always less taken back now when I see him, Jose, her brother, who is always with her.
Oh, that's quite sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Imagine having that power of seeing dead people, but you see them the way they died. How horrible is that?
Yeah.
It's not like just seeing a little boy ghost who's just dressed as a little boy. Seeing them as a like mangled.
Absolutely mess.
Oh, that'd be horrible, wouldn't it?
Quite daunting as a kid to see it as well. I'd be like,
yeah.
Nah, that's weird. Like, you weren't supposed to be around, Sam.
Also, what Maria is it? Maria is the person telling this story.
No, Maria is the sister.
Oh, okay, so the person telling this story has seen a kid who's all mangled up with dried blood and all this. She's not gone to help him.
Yeah.
She's just gone, that's a bit strange, he's not got a shoe on.
Yeah, he ain't got a shoe on, his hat's backwards. And oh wait,
he's got half a jaw missing.
His face is deranged.
Yeah. Good to see you. See you later.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Never interacted with this kid. Like, do you want to come play? just hanging around.
You're the weird kid who always wears the same clothes and always has blood on them.
Interesting story though, nonetheless.
Yeah, that got me. That I was like, ooh.
Yeah. So again, and so this is from Reddit, so like you can't be sure. It could be just a creepypasta for all we know. But you know, if we try to take it as is, yeah, there are people that say they see spirits all the time. There are clairvoyants that say they see spirits in their rooms all over the place, and they just live with it. So, yeah, I don't know. Could be, but it's one of those that you just have to take it as it is. It's this is the thing. Someone says they've seen a ghost. I believe you. I totally believe you. I'm not going to tell you haven't seen it. If that's what you believe. That's what you believe. You have to then prove it to me. That's the difference.
So I'm going to read a story that was also from Reddit. It's a ghost story. I'm just going to dive straight in. When I was in high school, 09 I think, me and a friend of mine, Chance, decided to create our own Ouija board and used it to prove that there was no such thing as the supernatural. We wrote/drew it on a sheet of paper, turned out the lights in my basement, lit a candle, and used a toonie to track responses.
Yeah, I don't know what a toonie is.
Maybe it's some sort of just recording device.
Yeah, probably.
Some sort of
like tune, radio, music, that kind of thing, isn't it?
Maybe. We started simply asking if anything was present, to which we got a yes.
Yes.
We then asked for a name and age. The entity replied Z7. Now I don't know what unit it was using for measuring age. 7 years old, I assume.
Yeah.
But this wasn't the ghost of some 7-year-old child.
Which is very presumptuous because it told you it was 7. It's like, it's definitely not a 7-year-old.
Yeah,
it's like,
you're lying.
The 7-year-old in the meantime is just like,
you asked me how old I was. I told you 7, and now you're thinking I'm not 7. The entity told us that it was a demon, but did not answer when we asked what business it had there. I was fairly certain that Chance was moving the coin to mess with me, so I asked the entity to prove itself. The candle went out immediately and my right arm lost all feeling. I ran to turn the light on and we stopped with the board immediately, not saying another word about what happened for a couple of weeks.
Ooh.
My arm regained some level of feeling. What, after 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Wow. But I couldn't feel pain in it for 2 years afterwards.
That's the bit that went. So obviously, I've read these ones before. 2 years, you didn't feel real pain in your arm. I think someone had a stroke.
The haunting, it says in brackets.
Yeah, so apparently also the haunting, what they'll go on to, lasted 2 years. Bear in mind, this is someone in year 9. Well, you're year 9, you're what, 13?
Yeah. Dear. Over the next year, there were odd happenings in the basement where I spent most of my time. I would hear footsteps running up and down the stairs when nobody was there, and I would feel a tapping on the back of my head from time to time. As strange as this may sound, I grew used to it and it stopped bothering me. After I stopped reacting to the sounds and taps, things escalated. Tapping became slapping, followed by laughter and running footsteps. You're just getting bullied, aren't you? The entity began following me to my bedroom at night, and I would feel a presence as I fell asleep. It didn't seem altogether malicious, more obnoxious. I thought that maybe it really was a mere 7-year-old and just a prankster. Then shit got real.
So before we get into the shit gets real, when the ghost told them that their name was Z, which is a genuine name, Z, and they were aged 7, he went, fuck off, it can't be 7. And then it was like just slapping him and tapping him. He was like, it is a 7-year-old. It's like, yes, I told you. I was 7. And also, he says at the beginning...
I'm 9 now. It's been 2 years later.
Exactly, yeah. It's like, I'm not 7 anymore. He said at the beginning, it was like, it said it was a demon instead. When we asked what it was doing here, it wouldn't tell us. It's like, yeah, because you wouldn't believe me anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, shit's about to get real, apparently.
One night, I awoke with a case of sleep paralysis. Now, I've actually had sleep paralysis, so I'm intrigued about what they can say. First and only time it has happened, which is absolutely horrifying under the best of circumstances. From my angle, I could see my mirrored closet door and a standing wall mirror in the reflection of that. I saw a shadow standing over me, just watching at first. When I realised I was awake, it walked to the foot of the bed, leaned over me and grabbed my knees. It squeezed hard and I could feel nails or claws of some sort digging in painfully. After what felt like hours, it released me and walked into the mirror, shrinking quickly. Then came the laughter. Inhumane laughter. It laughed so loud the room shook with it. The entity then turned to the reflection of the other mirror, walked into it and disappeared. The reflection rippled like a pool of water and the paralysis ended. I jumped out of bed, grabbed the mirror off the wall and took it outside. I had to be rid of the thing, so I smashed the mirror in our street side garbage can. The entity was banished with the smashing of the mirror and my arm exploded with all the pain that I had been unable to feel in those 2 years. I went bad inside, limping from the pain that lingered in my knees, and lay down in bed until morning came. I still have scars on my knees from the entity's grip, but I have full use of my arm again and there has been no visits from any otherworldly entities since. And then a little thing at the bottom, don't mess around with a Ouija board.
Mm. See, we mentioned on our Urban Legends series, go check it out, pictures, I want pictures.
Yeah, if you've got scars, show me.
There were no pictures attached to this story. Thoughts?
So, one, are you okay? Because you're saying that you play in the basement a lot. Maybe you're like a neglected child, only child.
Yeah, and they're one of those that like, oh, you come to my house. Well, your mum not mine. She won't care, and she really doesn't because
she just don't care about it.
She doesn't give a shit. You just live in the basement and you've just got like a futon, just a mattress on the floor, maybe an old pinball machine, and they're like, oh, this guy's so cool, and he smokes at the age of 13, like that kind of kid.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that one. I mean,
a 13-year-old playing on the Ouija board, you're gonna like, I'm 28, and if I play with a Ouija board, I know I'm going to start seeing stuff I don't want to see after playing with it.
Yeah, and as a child, your imagination is much better.
I don't know, mine's pretty good.
But you've got the mental age of a child.
It's one of those that, like, when you're exposed to it, you see it.
Yeah, and when you're open to seeing it, and you want to see it, you'll see it.
Maybe, yeah. And the sleep paralysis stuff, what are we saying?
There's been a lot of encounters of sleep paralysis and people holding them down, and they do have like scratch marks and stuff in the morning.
Mm.
But then again, give me a proof.
See, the whole scratching with sleep paralysis, now I've never had sleep paralysis, I don't know really what it's like, but I'm very aware of what people have said it's like, and there generally tends to be a paranormal experience when they have sleep paralysis. They say that they're being pressed down on and there's someone in the room or whatever, blah, blah, blah. As far as I'm aware, sleep paralysis is basically a dream where you're aware of it, an awake dream of sorts.
It's just it's a bad version of a lucid dream. So like lucid dream, you can obviously control your dreams and like walk around in your dreams and do this, that and the other. It's like the same thing, but the scary version.
Yeah, because your body, as far as I'm aware, paralyzes you when you're dreaming so that you don't act out your dreams. But in this case, your body's paralyzed, but you're conscious of what's going on. So it's almost like three things are happening at once. Your body's doing the correct thing of paralyzing you. Your body's going through the dreaming process as it ought to, except I'm awake. Yeah. And you're experiencing it as it happens. I think, this is just a trippy sleep paralysis thing.
And I think, like, for him to then smash the like mirror, like the sort of like door that let the demon in and out, for them to smash the mirror, that's kind of closure for the person. Like, it's not really a door for someone to come in and out of, but for you it's a release, and it's for you now closure that no one can come in anymore. No one can hurt me, no one can touch me. I've smashed the thing that let them in.
If what I want to know is basically I want to follow this lad for like the next 10 years or whatever and be like, how many times have you had sleep paralysis and how many more experiences have you had, this, that, the other. That's what the whole like Ed and Lorraine Warren with their psychical research thing, I can't remember the full title of that was, but like the whole point of that was to like not be like almost haunted about it and be like, oh, there's an orb, but they're like, okay, that's an orb and let's track it and let's this, that, the other, and they do all the science behind it and they've got the equipment and all this sort of stuff, and they're like, listen, we're not trying to prove that it exists, we're trying to debunk it to the point where I have nothing now. And that's where you start looking at the whole, what now could it be? Because I've gone through all of this to say what it could be, and I've been able to rule all of that out. Now what's left? Whereas like a lot of other places, a lot of other paranormal YouTube channels and places like podcasts and whatnot, they're always like, the first thing must be it. Yeah. It's a ghost. Oh, it's evidently a ghost. And you start to then make it fit your narrative. Whereas like what we want to do and what other places like the psychical research thing, it's all like, well, no, let's break down, could it be this? Could it be that? Could it be that? Okay, well, it can't be those. Okay, cool, brilliant. That's great. That's what we want to happen. We want to rule these things out first. So like a lot of people are like, oh, you're being negative, you're not open. No, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Trying to prove it by trying to disprove it.
Yeah. There you go.
There you go.
So that's it for this video. What do you think about spooky stories? I hope you enjoyed it. There'll be plenty more coming your way with more spooky stories. We're also going to be reacting to ghost TikToks, more ghosts caught on camera, plenty more ghosts for the series.
But EVPs as well.
Yeah, listening to EVPs as well, which I'm looking forward to doing. But yeah, if you enjoyed it, please give us a like and subscribe. Hit the bell so you know when we're uploading. And yeah.
If you have any stories or videos, anything, any experiences you'd like to share, feel free to message us. You can email us. You can find us on social media. However you want to message us, do it. Get hold of us. Speak to us, and we will share those stories.
Yeah. So we'll see you next week for another video.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.